Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
What is up? Episode 162. Happy Friday. Happy whatever day you're listening to us on. And we appreciate it nonetheless. Today, got a great show. Josh and Anthony from GG Cards and Breaks. They're a new store here where I am in Syracuse. We don't have many. They're just the second card store, LCS, that we have. And my personal favorite, I've said with the first one, the existing one, not a fan. So glad to have Josh and Anthony open their store here in the Syracuse area. This interview you hear today was recorded a few weeks back. They had a trade night. I came out and kind of covered it live, and then we sat down after that trade night and did this interview that you'll hear. So obviously when we recorded this interview, we didn't have the Fanatics acquisition of Topps. We're going to talk about Fanatics, obviously, in prior tense to that. But they had a lot of, great suggestions for what they'd like to see as an LCS owner from Fanatics. They talk about, this is a store within a store. So the card store is located inside their furniture store. They dedicated a part of the building to the cards, got some showcases, and set up shop. And so a little bit of the store in the store motif that is sort of common. We've seen other people do it. They do a great job. We'll talk about sort of their setup and something different with how they have their cards out in the cases. And they're going to talk about the difficulties of, opening a business during the pandemic. Being partners, something I've done when I had my LCS. I had a partner, and I always love to talk about the dynamic of working when it's more than just you that has to make a decision, especially on the business side of things. So they're gonna talk about how they get through those moments if there's any kind of difficulties and that sort of stuff. Two great guys. Definitely a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it.
Hey, this is Herman from Personal Rips and Hobby Chat on YouTube and Twitter at 3B Collection. Reminding you to always remember, the hobby is the people.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com. Or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Sports Card Nation! It's now time to chop it up with our featured guest on the one-of-one card shop guest line. Let's go!
All right, we're here live at Gideon's Gallery with Josh and Anthony from there. They just got done doing their third trade night. Is that correct?
Yeah,
third one. First time I've been here for their trade night. Very well done. Good to see a lot of young kids in the hobby, and got to give kudos to these guys. They actually provided even showcases for people to put out their inventories, which I thought was pretty cool. So, this year, third trade night, kind of talk about, the process and have they gotten better each time you've done them?
Yeah, Anthony, do you want to take it or do you want me to?
Yeah, so we recently got back into the hobby ourselves over the last year, and the first time that we went to a show together locally, we didn't have a ton of cards yet. We just got back into it, and we saw, people bringing all these monsters to the dealers, and I'm like, man, I'd love to be able to see their cards too. And we thought, what better way than to have a trade night here at the store, where the people that are usually walking up to dealers with their cards can come, sit down, hang out, and actually have their cards out so that you can trade amongst each other. And the first one, it was pretty cool. We had 10, 12 people here. And then the last two have been 20 plus both times, and like you said, there's dads with their kids here, which is awesome, and it just reminds me of being a kid, being back in the hobby, and it's been a lot of fun to do them.
Yeah, like this started. I mean, it's a hobby where a lot of it's labor of love, and we built this out because we were passionate about the hobby. And every chance we get to kind of be a part, whether or not it's our trade night or a card show we're setting up at, it's a lot of fun for us. It's just as much fun for us as it is the people that come in. As a matter of fact, it's it brings us back into the hobby more and more every time that we're able to set it up and we see people's response and they show up and they have a good time. That just makes us feel like what we're doing is like a wanted or needed type of thing in the hobby that there's not much out there, or not many people out there that do the trade nights. And I got the idea, honestly, watching other guys on YouTube. Yeah. And that was one of those things where I was like, why can't we do that? What's the big deal? It's literally if you offer it and no one shows up, well, you tried. Yeah. And the fact is, the first one, there was maybe 10 or 15 people, and you set the bar low, but you learned from it. And we did some things different, but honestly, it's just the longer you keep chugging along doing something that you care about and other people care about, it will catch on if there's people in that hobby that want that.
Yeah, Rome, I know it's cliche, Rome wasn't built in a day. We don't have a lot of stores here, as you guys both know. Really just two. We won't speak about the other one, but I've said on my show a lot of times is, I remember having my store in Liverpool from 92 to 97, and during those times there was probably 8 to 10 card stores at that time. And now, in the same area here, 30 years later, and there's two, and it's the hobby's probably arguably in a better spot now than it was in 1992 to 97, and it's a whole different hobby altogether. Can't even compare those two eras. But we have the card shows, as you guys well know. We set up recently at the fairgrounds. There's some at hotels, and you got Albany, Rochester. But cards, card store and a card show are two different things. A card show has a set date and time. A card store, whenever someone wants to come in and buy something, it's there for them, and we don't have a lot of those options. So when I found out about you guys, I was happy that we had another choice here, and then getting to meet you guys, seeing what you're all about, and good people. That made it even all the more better. Kind of talk about. I know the story because you told me, but for those out there listening, you already were established here. This is also a furniture business as well. Kind of how the idea to kind of put the card store inside the other business. Kind of talk about the process, how that was birthed.
You want to go?
Well, I mean, what really started is Josh and I just got back into ripping cards, and we, running a business, having personal lives, there's only so much time. Yep. And I had so many cards and not enough time to list them all on eBay or post them on Twitter. Or, I didn't know about sending cards off to Star Stock or ComC or anything like that at the time. I was just kind of new. I was like, I sell things on eBay. We had done eBay here at the store
forever.
So, my thought process was well, why don't we have them here at the shop? Why don't we, we always have carried home decor and stuff like that kind of fit with the furniture store. I'm like, why not give it a go?
Can I jump in for a second?
Go ahead.
So basically, Anthony's been on my case for years prior to us doing the card store. To do a card store, to do a hobby shop, and I'm really good at saying no. I'm pretty proficient at it, and one of the things that he was very passionate about was kind of going in on that idea. And we had always done jewelry in the display cases, and it sold. It was fine. It was kind of like, it's eye candy. It was but we didn't relate to it.
Yeah.
And like when he got me, I feel like we kind of got each other back into the hobby. But when we both found that space where we're like, all right, this is a lot of fun. Like, we have fun doing it together. We both connect to like our childhood. There's just a lot of different elements of it, and potentially do this to make money. Like, they kind of, in my head, it finally clicked. Like, all those years of him kind of being like, we could do this, and then finding something that I was like, oh, I actually like really enjoy this. It's almost like I kind of like. I feel like we probably sat there, and I'm imagining me pitching it as my idea, where it's like, we should do this, and you're like, oh, really? Yeah, we should do this. Yeah, this is the time now. Yes, but I think that probably, like, to some degree, that kind of sparked that, like that.
So even when you relented, Josh, I'll say it like that. How nervous of a decision is that? Like, you have an established business, obviously. What's the thought process? Are you worried about affecting your existing business? Maybe not spending enough time, like balancing balancing that out.
If I'm being honest, I'm still nervous. I'm still worried. I mean, if like, forget what time we all like live in and what we're all trying to deal with in our personal lives, and every business goes through, and trying to figure out like how to navigate the pandemic, and like, that's just one of those things where it was just like, from the get-go, it was a concern. I think to this day it's a concern. The thing, you touched on it before, Rome wasn't built in a night, or the Empire State Building wasn't built overnight, whatever turn of phrase. And the reality is, like, we've always treated this business with kind of you have to respect the fact things don't happen overnight. And we both consult with one another on what the best way to kind of move forward with things are. We kind of do things in tandem. I think it's important. We have our disagreements, like anyone would, but like, we form our best decisions based off of those disagreements. And I think a lot of what this has become, and maybe I'm speaking a little bit for you too, has just been like, it's been a learning process. I think Anthony took a tremendous amount of the initiative. And I'm kind of like, once he has me on board with a decision, or whether it's to buy a certain product or make a certain move, like, if he convinces me, I'm just like, yeah, do it. Like, we're good. And like, it's been a lot of different things we've incorporated from day one. Like, this, just whether it was building the display cases out, or ordering the right product, or buying the right collections. There's so many different parts of this business that you have to question yourself in the moment and beyond that moment, because as everybody listening knows, this hobby changes in the same way, day to day, week to week. And so sometimes you don't make the right call. Sometimes you go backwards, and sometimes you're in the black.
Going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more with Josh and Anthony.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
We have returned with more with Josh and Anthony. Well, I always say on my show, right, you're not going to get everything right, knowing that's half the battle. But if you have more, wins than losses, I think at the end of the day,
it's funny you say
that's obviously the goal.
We say that,
and even if you have a day or a week where it's not a good day or a good week, but the next week you kind of make up for it. I've talked about my store, and I also had a partner. His name was Angelo. In the first year we had, it was in the village of Liverpool. Those local will know what I'm talking about, but it's a suburb of Syracuse for those that don't. And our first year, we had to start from scratch. So we had to buy showcases. We got in a decent rent situation, so that part was good. But to drive business there, we had to spend on advertising, and so the first year we spent more than we made, and there almost wasn't a year too. I've talked about this on the show, and we actually went out to dinner one night and really had to decide, do we go another year? And we literally, we ordered food, had some beverages, and had a sheet of paper and kind of, had a pros and cons side. And at the end of the night, we decided to go one more year and see how year 2 would be, with that being sort of the make or break year for us. This again is in 1992. So it's hard to compare, but thankfully, the second year was a lot different than the first, and it led to 7 years of having the store. You seem like you guys get along. Talk about if there is something you maybe butt heads over, what is it usually, if I may ask?
Honestly, it's once a week, but the issue is, both of us are super passionate about what we do, and we both always have our best intention for the store. You don't make it as a business. I mean, we've only been doing it 7 years now, so it's not like we've done it forever. But for 7 years, you don't make it this far without challenging, yourself, and when you work as closely as we have for this whole time, without challenging each other. And sometimes you think you've got the best thing, and he thinks he's got the best thing, and I think I do, and you clash over that. And somewhere in the middle is probably the right answer. And with this year, we're super fortunate that we had built the business that we did with the furniture, because honestly, we ran before we walked with this portion, the sports cards. Yeah. And we went head first into it. And, I always say that I'm an idea guy, and I went all in on the idea. I knew that we could do it. I knew that we could do it the right way. I knew that we could provide something that this area, honestly, we think needed. Mm-hmm. And the issue is we ran into it, and we didn't have any, and no one knew that we had cards. There's probably thousands of people in Syracuse that are into cards that still don't know we have any cards here. Yeah. And that being said, the card shop probably wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for the furniture already being such an established thing here in Syracuse. But it's always going to be like that. A year from now, we're going to fight about something, or argue about something, or bicker, whatever you want to call it. That comes from the fact that we're both so passionate about being successful in what we do, and honestly, doing it the right way. And that's something we've always tried to do. We've always wanted to do, things the right way, no matter what we did. And when we first started here, we had 2 display cases with singles and 1 shelf full product. And we still had jewelry. Yeah. And, after a little bit, we're like, well, we need some more space for cards, so let's cut the jewelry down a little bit more. Now we have a few more sealed products. Let's, maybe put a bookshelf in the corner and grow from there. But at first, we ran headlong into it, and it was probably overall not the best business decision the way we started. But at this point now, we've kind of, taken what we've learned over the last year, essentially, and I think we are comfortable with where we're at, and we can still learn and we can still grow, but we're pretty happy with where we are right now with the store.
Yeah, and you said like your partner Angelo,
yeah.
When you open up your business, like you said, like from year 1 to year 2, you reassessed. Yeah. Like one of the most important things that we've always done is like it doesn't matter if it's the furniture aspect of the business, or if it was the eBay aspect, or if it was the sports card, like you always reassess. You reassess for so many different reasons. You reassess from the business standpoint to make sure the finances are right. You make sure you're heading in the right direction where you think the market is heading. Sports cards obviously are very volatile, but like you also want to make sure you only build a business that's there to supplement the need for what you're offering. And like if the customers are there and they're willing and wanting to grow with you, like that's how you grow your business. You don't do it by either, making one big sale and you're one and done. Like we've always looked at the business of, okay, this is the type of business we've been. We've established these relationships. How do we maintain those ones and then improve and then get other people on board? And it's just, you don't do that overnight. You do that by meeting people and by figuring out like how you can saturate whatever's left of the market that's out there that you haven't kind of reached yet. And so obviously, our biggest struggle this last year is with converting the sports or the furniture shop into a sports card shop in the front end. You know, you can do it. You can build the most beautiful thing and the most perfect example of it, but if no one knows it exists, what good is it? And so it's been networking. It's been speaking to people like you. It's been going to shows. It's been talking to people, just organically having awesome conversations relating to the hobby, and just getting the word out.
Word of mouth is you probably know this already from being in business is probably some of your best advertising. Doing the trade nights like tonight goes a long way, because whether it's the kids that were here or the adults that were here, they'll tell 2 other people about it, and that just grows organically. The other advantage that you had that me and Angelo didn't have back in the days, you guys already have a prior working relationship. We went into it like I knew him, but we never worked together on that level. One of the things I told him, and vice versa, he said, hey, I don't want you to just agree with everything I say. That doesn't do either one of us any good, and it's going to lead to bigger problems. If you don't like something or you don't agree with something, tactfully, don't make it personal. Let's talk about it and come to some sort of happy medium, if you will. It sounds like you guys sort of along those same lines, and I think that'll go a long way. A word you said, Anthony, I think is very important too. Passionate, right? You care. I saw tonight. This is my second time here, but I saw tonight. You can tell when somebody cares about something, and not just in sports cards, just in general, or going through the motions. And there's a lot of people in this business, industry, hobby, whatever word you want to use, that just see dollar signs. And I'm not gonna, I do card shows, I sell online. Everyone that listens to the show pretty much knows that. It's important, but I've always said it's not when I started a long time ago at age 7, it wasn't about money. I didn't start like that. And while I do some of that, it's not the end all be all either at the end of the day too. And, you got to care, you got to be passionate. I see that, for not knowing you super well, I can tell when someone either it's genuine or it's sort of manufactured, if you will. And I can tell even with, whether it's an adult or a kid, you enjoy what you're doing, and there's something to be said to that. I think the most successful people in any business are people who actually enjoy what they're doing, not just sort of going through the motions or looking at it as a paycheck only. And I think that'll bode well, for you. Quick word from one of our sponsors, but we'll return right after that.
The Sports Card Shop is your small-town local card shop with a global reach. Located in New Buffalo, Michigan, the shop is one of the most accessible in the Midwest. In addition to being an authorized Panini direct dealer, the Sports Card Shop carries all major trading card brands, including Topps, Upper Deck, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and more. With all that new wax, 500,000 singles, and showcases full of graded cards, you're sure to find something great for your collection, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned collector. The Sports Card Shop is your one-stop shop. So call us, come see us, or visit us on the web and social media. Our phone number is 269-469-0140. Website is thesportscardshop@moco.com. The Sports Card Shop is part of the Moco Retail Group, connecting sports, the hobby, and people around the world.
Sports Card Nation is back with GG Cards and Breaks. I know the one thing when I came in the first time that I caught my eye, you traditionally go to a card store and all the cards are sort of laying flat in the showcases. With nothing wrong with that. That's how we did it. But you have these modular plastic sorting trays, so the cards are all angled up, and it gives a different look. I love it. It's the first thing I actually didn't talk to you about it that night. We talked about so many other things, and then tonight I did. But it gives a different look, as we all know with lighting. Sometimes I have a trouble with it at the show. Sometimes the lights, if they're right above your table, kind of the glare, it's hard to see the cards in the case. But the way you got it set up is just. It's different, and I love it. It's you can see the cards better. If they're the chromium or glossy, they pop to me even a little bit more. Just how did you come up with that? Like what was the?
So it was. I think initially, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is our direction with them wasn't from. I don't know if it was from a display standpoint. I think it was from a sorting standpoint because they're modular trays that BCW makes. I haven't seen another company that has exactly what they have. They're wonderful. You get 6 in a pack, and I think we bought them just to see would this work for just sorting purposes. Honestly, at this point, it is a blur. It might have been for display as well. But the fact is the minute you have something that works, and we try so many new things. That's part of just being in business. Yeah. And when we put that product in the case, I think one of the biggest things we notice is the same thing you did, is that a card lays flat, so it doesn't really draw a person in until you're standing right above it. When you angle it, you have a bunch of different, either reflections or just angles on the card that just pull you in, whether it's the color or whatever it is. And when we put them in the showcase, I think we probably started with 1 or 2 of them, and we were like, we need to order hundreds of these. We ordered we ordered so many of them, and I've probably plugged this to people in random group break chats. I've been online and whoever I talk to, but I'm like, one of the easiest things to do when you find something that actually works is just tell people, don't try to sell them on it because to make money or sell it because you can. But when you believe in it, it's just you want to tell people to buy it because it actually, it's great. It's great that we can display the cards the way we can. We can bring them to shows and disassemble them.
The way they transport too is super, super convenient because you can actually, the piece of plastic that angles the cards, you can actually fold down in
flat,
and you can lay them flat and just lay the cards directly flat in there and stack them up to bring to shows, bring to an event. Yeah.
There's a time saver right there.
Yeah, you can take a stack of players too. If you have a 10 Tom Brady
sort
cards.
Well, if I was telling you guys off the air, all my inventory is in alphabetical order. When I do a show, when I pack up, I got to put it all back in that order. That makes it that's a lot easier. It might be something down the line. I think I have player boxes already, so I don't know if I incorporate it. But if I ever did a store again, I don't have any plans on the horizon. But I definitely would steal that idea. I think it's first thing I noticed when I walked in here, and I'm like, they're like sorting trays, right? Most people in the hobby have used them. But once you get so when you walk in, you notice it right away, and then when you get closer, you realize these are, what I mean. When you see sorting trays, you think just kind of base cards, and people are opening packs. But these are cards in your showcase for sale, and the angle that they're more visible. I just think more aesthetically wise, it's just more pleasing to look at, and let's be honest. Presentation is a good percentage of things, and stores. I always say on my show, this what worked for me in 1992, 93, and so on. That formula would not translate today, and so you got to do things, sort of think outside the box, and love what you did there, and it's I think it's different. I'm not saying you're the only one that's ever done it, but I've never seen it in this fashion prior to that. I've seen sorting trays, but again, these aren't your paper sorting trays these are that plastic, and they're I'm gonna buy one before we leave tonight, and I don't have a showcase I'm gonna put in, but it's gonna go on my desk and just cards I'm kind of this is going to eBay, or this is going to, I can kind of sort them out and keep track. A little better organization, even in that form. So kudos to you guys there. Going back to trade night, it's your third one. You said they've gotten better. Is it something have you been doing them once a month?
Yeah, so we've been doing them monthly so far. I don't necessarily know that we need to change that up. We've considered maybe doing every 3 weeks, so that there might be a month that you hit 2. Right now it seems like there is pretty consistent demand for it. People ask about it. I've had people message me and say, like, hey, I can't make this one, but let me know whenever the next one is. And this time of year, from what we've seen so far at least, there's not too many shows in the Syracuse area. So maybe this winter it might be something we do a little bit more often. But once a month seems like pretty nice. Enough different products have come out. People have opened new stuff and picked up new cards that they've bought off eBay or whatever. And it seems like the once every month kind of schedule gives people enough time that they're ready to come in and trade some old cards away because they pick new stuff up, or they're just looking for something new. So
yeah, I think one of the biggest concerns, everything I've watched other people talk about online, and when you don't want to have the same people set up with the same stuff too often. It becomes mundane and boring. And I mean, from what we found, because we only have about 2 traveling card shows that come in and out of town, we basically, I feel like the once a month structure works well enough. I mean, people, again, what he said, there's enough products opened up and enough things happening outside of those shows where it hasn't felt boring yet. We will change it once it feels stagnant and people, not as many people are coming, or whatever it is that, but so far we've only been growing every single time we do it. And the card shows have been a great way to actually promote what we're doing here. And that's really what we focused on setting up with them. It was less about sales and just saying, hey, we exist, there's, it's tough to break into any business, and essentially this being our first year, we've just been using the card shows as a great opportunity to do that. And we just want to keep chugging along. I think the once a month works great. Like he said, if we go to once every 3 weeks, we're going to be responsive of whatever the community of people that collect want. And if we kind of get a gist of, okay, that's too soon to do another one, then we learn from that. It's adaptability. I mean, the whole market with cards is that too.
Time to hear from one of our great sponsors, but we'll be right back after that. Greg Morris Cards wants to buy your cards. A long-trusted name in the sports card business, Greg has been buying sports card collections for over a decade now. Any sport, baseball, basketball, football, or hockey, in any era, vintage or modern, will do. Just no junk wax error sets, please. To learn more and to sell Greg Morris your cards, go to www.gregmorriscards.com. Fill out the consignment sale request form and someone will get back to you on how to get cash for your cards. Also, if you're a dealer looking to sell your collection, Greg Morris wants to talk. Plenty of dealers use Greg Morris' massive eBay platform as a way to consign their cards. Take advantage of Greg's experience in the hobby to get more bang for your buck. We are back. So you obviously carry wax, sealed boxes, packs. Very important. That's where the cards come from. So it gives collectors and hobbyists an opportunity to get their inventory. Talk about the difficulties this year. It's been a big hot button topic in the industry for even established stores, that have been kind of doing business a while, complaining about allocations and the whatnot. Kind of being kind of new, kind of talk about that landscape for you. How do you navigate that and some of the difficulties in that?
Well, I think not only have stores had a tough time, but breaking has become such a big part of the hobby. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people think hey, I'll just buy cards and I'll break them and I'll make a bunch of money because they see people just filling up these breaks online and making a bunch of money selling their product. And I think that a lot of people some people probably got in early enough where a lot of the distributors were still like taking the online stuff. But when we signed up for all of our distributors, they all had a box that basically said, I understand that I will not be given any allocation on new releases. And, we clicked the box because we're like, hey, we still got to have a way to get hobby products. We can't survive off of, hitting Walmart restocks and hoping that people bring us sealed stuff to sell when they hit a Walmart restock. We need to be able to have consistent inventory sitting on the shelf. And so, we work with a couple of different places. I mainly work with one supplier for our sports. I do get some of my Pokemon stuff from them, but then I have another supplier that I use a lot more for the TCG-based stuff. And, through time over the last couple of months, it's gotten better. And as we continue to have a relationship with them and buy more product from them, they've started to allocate us a little bit more, and we have actually started to get maybe a couple of boxes of some products on new release. It hasn't really happened with your basketball and football. Those are like very difficult. It feels like to get any kind of Panini stuff. The baseball's there more. Top stuff, we're starting to get some allocation for some top stuff now, which is great. But it's been difficult for everyone to find products, whether you're someone who is always accustomed to going to Target or Walmart and getting boxes, or you're a hobby store. It's gotten very difficult for anyone to be able to consistently have product. There are more stores now that are starting to carry it, and it seems like production levels are getting a little bit higher for the retail product, which has helped, get cards into collectors' hands without having to pay those escalated prices that people got accustomed to over the last year with, how scarce everything has been. So it's gotten a little bit easier for us. We've had to use those other, places though. I've had to, go into Discords and, buy sealed stuff off guys in bulk or, whatever. Buying, I just picked up off someone this week. I ran out of Absolute, and I picked up a couple of Absolute mega boxes, and I ran out of Select Basketball. He had a couple of hangers. I bought them, and there's not much margin there, but I didn't have them on the shelf. Yeah. And then what I don't ever want to have is, not have a product that someone is still coming in and looking for. And the other day when someone asked about if I had any Select hangers left, I said, I don't. So I went out and found some, and it's, so it's definitely tough to find it, and we want to offer it at, fair pricing too. And it's kind of a little better.
You mind if I jump in based on what you just said? Like, basically, like with the products, like I've said this 1,000 times. Basically, I have felt with like a lot of the sealed product, a lot of the hobby stuff, more so than anything, because we have to go through one distributor or two distributors, and it's not always the easiest. It's they're in business as well, and the margins aren't tremendous. And I think, unfortunately, what a lot of people see when they come into a shop is, you're basing what fair market value is off of what you see on eBay. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I've seen people post about this, and it's just out of a place of frustration sometimes, but I think there's this innocent naiveness where people don't know that. Like, sometimes if we have to sell a box for $250 and that's at eBay value, it's because we paid $230 or $240 or sometimes even $250. We've actually gone backwards on things as well. And it's mainly to have, like Anthony said, it's to have it on the shelf. It's, you do not want to disappoint someone with not having the product they're looking for. So, it's really tough because, and I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that have better allocation or do take advantage of the system and make their money, but it's not a one size fits all. I think a lot of people get frustrated with certain LCSs, and unless you really know the full and true story about how they're acquiring stuff, it's hard, because I understand from a buyer standpoint. If someone comes in here and they're looking at whether it's a hobby or retail product and you're looking at above MSRP, you feel like you're getting taken advantage of. And the reality is, unfortunately, that feeling of being taken advantage of, it goes across the hobby. It's not just the end buyer. It's the person acquiring the product, and it's from the top down sometimes. And we try our best and we try to explain to people. Most people understand it, but there's always that kind of inclination where, like, some people might be like, well, you're just ripping us off and you're charging. And it's like, I get that frustration. I do. But the only way I can put that stuff on my shelf is to make sure that we're buying it wherever we can get it to either break even or make a couple of bucks. It's not the most profitable thing we've walked into, but it's passion doesn't always dictate.
The term for it called a loss leader, right? Like it's a product you may even lose a few dollars on, or just like you say, just the push, right? You break even, but you have it here for people asking for it. And with the hopes, let's be honest, I was there too as an LCS owner, that they buy something else when they're, you have that form there, they come in and they buy something else with maybe a better profit margin while you have them in the store. It's called a loss lead. So, people have to understand, wax normally doesn't come down in price. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but in general, it doesn't work like that. When it's harder to obtain, sometimes it costs you more to get it, and it is what it is. The good thing is there's plenty of options when it comes to wax too, with the amount of products. Now the pandemic's kind of delayed things, pushed things back, canceled other things. Let's get ahead. I got to ask you this as a store owner. We got Fanatics coming in here in about 2 years with the new licensing. Your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think it's going to make life easier in the wax department, or are you hopeful of that? Are you still concerned with what their business model may be?
So I'm going to kind of defer to Anthony on this one, but I'm going to defer with one statement because I think this is the most honest take I can give on that to answer that. From my personal standpoint, we don't know. Yeah. We're having the same conversations everybody in the hobby's having. Like whether you're a collector or if you're another store, we think maybe sometimes we have our finger on the pulse like anybody does. And what happens in the hobby? Things change on a dime. Yeah. And it's like, we're right now, I would just say that we're really heads down with what we're doing and just trying to focus on making that work. I mean, those relationships that we need to build and foster with Fanatics, that's definitely something we got to look at. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I know you have.
My 2 cents on that is it's up to them. Do they want hobby stores? Do they want LCSs? Yeah. Do they want to have these places, or do they want to do everything themselves? Yeah. If they want to have the hobby boxes be on their website and they want to have the retail products also be on their website, they're a big enough company to do that. I mean, obviously they push Topps out of baseball cards. Yeah. Topps has done baseball cards for 70 years, and in the blink of an eye, Fanatics took that. And Panini's been pushing out football and basketball licensed products for years now, and within a blink of the eye, they took that too. Yeah. So they have the money, they have the infrastructure. They can really, it's up to them. They can do whatever they want. If they want to grade cards, sell single cards, sell hobby boxes, sell cello packs and blaster boxes,
do breaks.
They can do it all themselves. Yeah, they want to have breaks. Maybe they pick 20 breakers, and those are the guys that get the product to sell. And it's only the big boys that are already pushing a ton of product. That's up to them. I would like to think that Fanatics would want to have hobby shops available because, you still need supplies. You still need pages for your binders. You still need sleeves for your cards, boxes for your cards. Who's going to buy all the single? If you can only get single cards by buying and selling on eBay and you got to ship everything, you're never going to be able to see cards in your hand to buy them.
Going to step aside for one last quick break. But we'll be back with more from Josh and Anthony.
What doesn't one of one card shop do? From box, case, and personal breaks, there's always fire being pulled. They offer bulk grading subs, and their large store located in Strongsville, Ohio, offers an incredible selection of sports cards, non-sports, and authentic autographed memorabilia. Steve and family will treat you right. Check them out on Instagram at One of One Card Shop or on the web at oneofonecardshop.com.
We are back with Anthony and Josh.
I'd like to think that Fanatics would realize that LCSs aren't going to be something that really steps on their toes in terms of what they want to do.
Well, you're not the enemy, and I hope they, here's the thing. I think you're right, Anthony. I think the ball's in their court. They sort of control the pieces on the game board. But what they also need to realize, and I know, some people from the industry do listen to this, the LCSs are their friend rather than the enemy. They need to. I think they need to come with that approach. Now, I've heard the D2C thing, direct to consumer, sort of what they're going to. The graded thing, I heard, they want to grade. To me, that's a conflict of interest. I wouldn't grade with someone who produces the cards. I think it's sort of a conflict of interest. I think PSA, SGC, Beckett not producing cards is made them, what they are, because they have no affiliation really. I don't want that affiliation. I don't want someone producing the cards and then giving them assessment too. They're not going, they're going to just grade everything higher because they produced it, right? And so I don't see that working. They might try it. I don't know. But I think they really need to embrace the LCSs in some form or fashion, because they're going to be, they're on the front line. You guys are on the front lines promoting those future Fanatics products. And yeah, sure, they can sell to me and ship to my house, but there's something to be said about that social interaction, coming in the store and buying singles and opening wax. And Fanatics they got a bunch of smart people there, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know, this is like Josh said, we don't know. That's probably the most correct statement either three of us have said in response to this question. But what I do hope is kind of what I said already, is that they see the big picture and not the short-sighted, we want to be, master of all. I understand that. My fear is because what these licenses cost them, that they sort of forget who's there for them or what benefits them in the long run, and they're not short-sighted with that. But again, it remains to be seen. But I'm biased as a former LCS owner, but there's something to be said about store where a kid and an adult can walk in, not only buy packs, but like you said, supplies, singles, and not just buy, but interact and talk about sports, talk about the hobby. You have TVs on here with obviously, Sports Center or sports on, and that's what most of the people in the hobby, that's how they got into it most of the time. I mean, not 100%. So I hope Fanatics doesn't, I understand they want to do a lot of stuff and they're paid that price for that, right? But they can make money and incorporate the LCSs. I know if I'm one of if I'm on the distribution level, what I've heard Fanatics say, I'd be concerned if I'm them, because I think they're the ones that are going to be trying to cut them out. But I really hope that even if that happens, which, I feel bad for those folks. Those are humans that may lose jobs, and there's a human element to all of this too. Sometimes we forget with cardboard and chrome that there's people as well. I mean, the tagline for the show is the hobby is the people. But what I hope is whatever they do, that they don't try to short circuit the LCSs, and I think it's in their best interest to work with those, yourself included, and all of them across the United States and abroad. And because there's one in almost one in every area, right? Or at least you hope so. And it'd be sad to think that I hope they don't take the Walmart model, where they just want to kill everything else and blaze the landscape and napalm everything, and we're the only game in town. I don't think that bodes well for the hobby. I'm going to say it, I think that's my big fear as someone that's been in this hobby almost 40 years, is that they do that. And I think that can backfire. think it could result in a lot of people getting frustrated and maybe putting their cards down, selling their cards, and leaving. And as big as the crescendo the last few years have been, that can work in the opposite way too, and they need to keep that in mind. So I hope they see the big picture rather than the tunnel vision picture, and I'm sure some do and some don't, but I hope the smarter people in that boardroom, let's put it that way, win the day, and I think that'll be the best.
And aside from the price of, that being a big complaint is how prices have gone up on sealed product, right? The other big complaint is it's just not on the shelves anymore because everyone's buying it up.
Yeah.
So what happens to the person that's sitting at home is like, I want to go rip some cards. You're going to order it and wait for it to get shipped to you. If you don't have a hobby shop, if you don't have an LCS to go to that has it just available, you're going to be waiting for everything. And that's just going to make it more difficult for people to get cards when they're in the mood to open some cards. Because that's the most fun part of the hobby, right? Is just ripping open packs and seeing what you get. And, without an LCS around, it gets a little bit harder to do that.
Yeah,
I think like Fanatics it's a massive company with all these. I'm sure there's a 100 different divisions that I couldn't even imagine up on the spot. And the reality is, I'm sure there's a part of this plan, whatever they plan on doing in the coming years, where you kind of have to sit there and once you figure out, well, we're going to keep things going with the local card shops and everything. You don't have to supply to everyone. There's some bad. There's bad eggs out there in any business. There's people that do it wrong. There's people that are completely advantageous and don't do anything to support. The point I'm trying to make is that like you would vet the people that you're sourcing to, and that would be an inherent built-in type of thing that they just kind of focus on and say, listen, if we want these people to act as somewhat of a broker or they're representing our product, we want to make sure it's in the right light, in the right atmosphere, and it's not they're not just the rip-off artists in town.
Yeah.
And that's something where I think they can probably shift some of that focus to weed out some of the people that are just scalping.
I remember back in my day, going back to my store days with certain companies, obviously then we had Topps Fleer, Upper Deck, Score, Donruss, the good old days when there was five companies, 6 companies and more producing cards. A few of those, you had to provide pictures of the inside of your store, the outside. They wanted to see signage and know that you weren't just in your living room trying to pose as a store and get cases
in your boxers at the computer, just placing orders.
So and I agree with if that's what you have to do to, like you said, vet. I'm all for that. A store shouldn't mind doing that because they don't want just anybody. If you've put in the work to build your store up, right, you should get the privilege to purchase that product, and it should be different than just somebody that's working out of their basement. And there's 2 sides of that coin, but I just hope my hope is that the smarter people in that room have the louder voices. We're going to find out in a couple of years. I think what you said, Josh, really is apropos, right? Well, no one knows. No one knows. We're just crossing our fingers and our toes and hoping good things happen. But we're going to find out, here in a couple of years. But I want to thank you guys for coming on and opening your store up and staying later. We're here past closing, doing this interview. Glad that you're here, and Syracuse needs another card store. I've said that before you were here. Now you are. I'm not going to not say that. And continued success, and look forward to get you to knowing you even more so.
We appreciate it. I mean, if anybody else is interested, just quickly, if you want to find us online.
Yeah, give out all your credentials.
Yeah, we have a website. It's ggcardsandbreaks.com. Our store is gideonsgallery.com for the furniture. We kind of tried to break them up just to you're advertising it to somewhat different demographics. Yeah. And I always mess this up, so I'll defer to Anthony for the Twitter.
Our Twitter is just the store. It's Gideon's Gallery on Twitter, and the same on Instagram as well. We're not as active on Instagram as we are on Twitter. We're trying to be really, really active on hobby Twitter and doing sales on there and chatting with people
Giveaways,
about cards and giveaways. And we're just trying to, kind of find a spot in the hobby where everyone can learn about us, basically.
Yeah. But thank you. You said thank you to us, but thank you for having us on your show. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. And as a former store owner, someone that lives literally 3.4 miles away from where we are right now, it's good you're here, and you're two great guys besides that, and very important. We need good folks here in the hobby, and we have two more. So
thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks. That was Josh and Anthony from Gideon's Gallery.
Hey everybody, have you heard about Collectible? It's the one-stop shop where any collector can buy and trade affordable shares in some of the most rare and valuable sports cards and memorabilia in the world, starting from just $5. From 1952 Mickey Mantle PSA 10s and Wilt Chamberlain's iconic rookie uniform to one-of-one Patrick Mahomes RPAs, rare LeBron James logo mans, and everything in between, Collectible is creating never-before-seen access and opportunities for all. Let's grow the hobby we love together. Please note this is not a recommendation or solicitation to buy any security. All investment decisions should be undertaken after doing your own research.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 162. I want to thank, as always, you out there making this show possible by listening and downloading it. That doesn't happen, we don't happen. So thank you. Want to thank my two guests today, Josh and Anthony from GG Cards and Breaks. Fun to check their store out. Won't be the only time I'm there, and I'll be going in there time to time to pick some stuff up. But nice to have another store here in Syracuse. Two great guys, too. It's easy to root for good people. And so they're doing it the right way, and smart guys, and have a passion. You can see, being there on trade night and seeing them interact with everybody. They set up a great thing, too. There's, I don't know, they put out, little portable showcases on the tables for everyone to use for trade night. And very, very cool the way they did it. And they care, and that's half the battle right there. So wishing them continued success. I'll probably see them not just in the store, but here at the Syracuse Card Show that happens every few months. I set up at that, and they do too as well in promotion of their store. So nice to have them on, and let me know what you think. Of any interviews we've done, or even the new format of the show. If you notice, we've changed the format of this show, Sports Card Nation, and our Monday show, Hobby Quick Hits. We didn't delete anything. We just moved some stuff around with the goal to make both shows under 60 minutes each and sort of more consumable. Was doing well before that, but had some longer, hour and 20, hour and 30-minute shows, and want to try to avoid those when possible. So now we have both shows usually clocking in under that 60-minute mark, and had a lot of people said they're fond of the new format. But what say you? Let us know if you like the show. We appreciate positive reviews on any platform, but specifically Apple iTunes, Apple Podcast. We appreciate it. Programming note for next week, scheduled to appear. Beckett Media's hobby editor, Ryan Cracknell, will join us from the great North, Canada. But he does a great job giving you all the breaking sort of news, product news, and has been doing it a while now and does a great job. That's why he's been doing it a while, because he does such a great job at it. So happy to have him on the show. First time for him here, but glad to have him. So that'll be next week. With that being said, we wish you well. Say goodnight, Kane.